Good afternoon. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be here with all of you. It was the honor of a lifetime when I got a phone call from Reverend Bernice King inviting me to be here with you this morning. And as you may have seen, I've been so moved up here by the spirit and the love and the legacy of Dr. King that I actually hugged Senator Warnock. So hugging Senator Warnock and following Ben Stiller is not something I would have imagined that I would be here doing. But I am so honored to be here at what I think is perhaps the most significant church in our nation. The battle that Dr. King led for civil rights, the battle that changed our world, was deeply grounded in his Christian faith and in his devotion to this great country. When he wrote from the Birmingham jail in 1963, he said, quote, "The sacred heritage of our nation and the will of Almighty God are embodied in our demands." He knew the American dream was a dream unfulfilled. But I've been studying Dr. King because I knew Reverend King was going to be watching. And when you read Dr. King's descriptions of our founding documents, you feel yourself in the presence of one who knew our founding documents are a shield, they are a sword, and they are a compact. And they embody a promise for every one of us. Here's what he said about our Declaration of Independence. He said, "The substance of our dream is expressed in these sublime words, words that are lifted to cosmic proportions. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And when Dr. King spoke of the courageous students who were sitting in at lunch counters across the South, he said, "I knew as they were sitting in, they were really standing up for the best in the American dream. And they were taking the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy which were dug deep by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and in our Constitution." Dr. King fought racism and bigotry and hate with a reverence for freedom, with an unshakable courage, a faith in God, and a determination to live in the truth. His life and his work serve truly as a call to conscience for us all. And never have we needed that example more. Never have we faced a greater need to heed his call than the one we face today. My friends, as we meet this afternoon, a great lie is doing its work, poisoning the bloodstream of our democracy. A former president refuses to acknowledge that he lost, and he has convinced millions that our elections and our democracy no longer work. He threatens the foundations of our nation and everything Dr. King persevered to save. If given the chance, this former president's allies in Congress will once again ignore the rulings of our nation's courts, the outcome of our elections, and the words of our Constitution. As they as they claim for themselves the right to throw out the votes of millions of Americans and install their former leader as our president. We must not let them prevail. And my friends, faith communities have a particular obligation this election year. There are churches across our nation where ministers preach from the pulpits an adoration of this former president. There are pastors who seem to have forgotten the first commandment. And they are openly embracing an immoral, unstable, and depraved man who threatens violence and death, who attacks the rule of law, and who says he can terminate our Constitution. All people of goodwill in this nation, regardless of race, religion, political affiliation, regardless of anything else that might divide us, must stand together against this. We must draw back from the abyss. We must see each other anew, not as partisans, but as God's children. We must work, my friends, as though everything depended on us, because it does. And we must pray as though everything depended upon God, because it does. As Dr. King taught us, the danger is not only the vitriolic words and the violent actions of bad people, but also the appalling silence and the indifference of good people. We all must act, and we all must serve. The only requirement for service, according to Dr. King, is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. As we honor the greatness of Dr. King, let us also honor and remember the goodness of our nation, the kindness of our neighbors, the better angels of our nature, and the God who gave us life, gave us liberty at the same time. And let us resolve that we will rise above what divides us to love our country more. Let us resolve to live in truth, fortified by the memory and the lessons of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. My friends, on March 25th, 1965, standing in front of the Alabama State Capitol in Montgomery, at the end of the march from the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Dr. King reminded us all, no lie can live forever. I know you're asking, Dr. King said, how long will it take? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long. Because truth, crushed to earth, will rise again. Together, remembering the lessons and the courage and the love of Dr. King, we will make sure it does. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America. Thank you.